Hey, Mystic Micheala, spiritual family. Welcome to Know Your Aura with Mystic Micheala. Today, the codependent empath. Are you a codependent empath? Well, if you're an empath, you're probably codependent. So we're going to talk about that. But first, hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys. And guess what? Today is a huge day.
I know.
Very big, very special. This is our 100th episode.
It is.
But we're not going to celebrate it today.
No, we can't do that. That's too typical.
No, of course not. So we're going to celebrate it on our 111th episode.
Yeah, the 111 episode. That's when we're going to really celebrate it. So,
So we're not going to do the typical things you do for a 100th episode.
What do you do for a 100th episode?
I really don't know. You get like balloons, like let's say 100.
Yes, that's the new thing.
Yeah.
Like they're like gold foiled balloons.
Yeah, I did this actually once when I got 200 followers on Instagram.
Yes.
I got the 200 balloon, and it was really successful.
And like a cake from the grocery store with like 200 on it.
Yeah, 200 IG followers.
It's not 200K, just like 200.
Yeah. No, not 200K, 200.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was really, I thought people really enjoyed it. It got like 4 likes or something like that. So I was happy with that.
That's great engagement.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just really waiting to see, because my birthday's coming up soon. And after a couple of weeks ago, when I mentioned in the top 10 list that I don't wish anyone a happy birthday on Facebook anymore, I'm assuming, because I used to get about 5 or 6 happy birthdays, I'm assuming that's going to go down this time.
They're just going to ignore you.
Yeah. I might, maybe if I friend a few people. I'm going to, actually, I'll do, after this, I'll friend a lot of people that are new. They won't know my little thing that I don't wish you happy birthday.
Yeah. And you'll just get new people's happy birthdays.
Well, speaking of codependency, we went back to yoga again today. We've been off and on with yoga. We really got to get back to the yoga.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of good new moves today. I think we did the shampoo. That was new.
Okay.
The shampoo.
Sure.
Was that it? Yeah.
I would. Okay.
Yeah,
you mean that? Oh, what's that one called? I know what you're talking about. I think it's like the fish.
Oh, maybe it's shamu. I thought it was called the shampoo.
The one where you stick your head, like you lean on your elbows and you throw your head back.
That's the one.
Yes.
And I realize I'm very codependent for you in yoga because there's like all these positions, and then I like kind of just have you hold my leg sometimes because I can't stretch it that far, or I'll give you my arm and I'll let you do it, like hold my arm. So I really appreciate that I'm codependent, that you help me.
It must be wonderful, like as we're going to talk about codependency today, like how you're so not codependent as a person. It's just nice that I have a normal person to live with to be like, hey, what do normal people do in this situation? And you'll tell me.
Yeah, but true. And really, during yoga, I cannot do it without you. That chicken pot pie move we did, you helped me.
You're just a one-man show, Scott. This is great. The chicken pot pie. Okay.
Yeah. You did it. We kind of sat like a bowl. Okay. Anyway, but you are very codependent.
Butterfly?
Something like that. Maybe it was called the butterfly. Okay. Well, when you might even be more codependent when it comes to our cats.
I truly measure my worth based on how my cats and like also other people's cats and even stray cats think of me. It's true. It's true. Like, and when somebody's like, oh, my cat's so difficult or my cat's like the worst or whatever, like it's even a better challenge for me. I love dogs and, don't get me wrong, but like, I don't know, something about the cat that they're hard to please and they're slightly toxic that I appreciate pleasing them. And it is true. Like when the cats are pleased with me, I take worth from that.
I feel I should send you on vacation with not us, the family, with the cats. Like just you and the cats.
Me and the cats?
Yeah, like I send you on a vacation and you go with Rocky and Dusty.
Okay.
And see what happens.
Where do we go? That'd be fun. Like a cat cafe.
Like a cat cafe.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
All right. They don't like going anywhere, so.
No, I mean, and for me, I'm a lucky guy because my biggest stress in life is the cats.
It is. They do stress you out.
They really do stress me out.
Yeah. I know their schedules so well.
Yeah.
But like every night around, I want to say like 9 p.m., they both have like freakouts. And they just really upset you.
They really do. I mean, I'm sitting there, it's 9 a.m. and then...
9 p.m.
9 p.m., sorry.
But they do it at like 7 a.m. too.
Yeah. And then Rocky will claw the couch, and that's his signal that he wants to go outside.
Yeah.
And, that's great that he has a signal, but can it be something different? Can it be like can he like tap on my shoulder or something? I mean...
Yeah.
Does he have to ruin the couch to go outside?
Yes, he does. All right, so you had something from the Mystic Micheala spiritual family that you thought was interesting and wanted to share.
Yeah, so what we've been kind of noticing ourselves, you and me, and this was brought up in the group the other day, is that it's kind of sometimes harder to talk to people now that we've had our, spiritual awakenings, right?
Well,
so
yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of like small talk might be harder, or people that you used to talk to or things that you used to talk about. You can't do it anymore, and you kind of got to fake through it. You know what I mean? So here is a post from Sophia, and I wanted to read this one. All right. Happy Thursday, Mr. Micheala Spiritual Family. And she is a yellow indigo. I'm so thankful for this group for giving me the opportunity to connect with like-minded people. I've especially loved being able to connect in smaller space of the discussion groups. I know MM talks about how she sees a lot of indigos in her readings, but not many in real life. She also talks about how once we begin our spiritual journey, we begin to outgrow a lot of people. Since I began my journey back in November of 2020, I've definitely shed the toxic people, but I feel myself in a slump now. The friends I have are ones I made before my spiritual journey, and although they aren't outwardly judgmental of my growth or aura colors or my love for Glennon Doyle, I feel a divide between myself and them. Okay. I have learned that I really connect through deep conversations and vulnerability, and although I have that with you all and my sister who lives on the other side of the coast, I'm lacking that in my current situation. So basically, I think what she's saying here is, in November, she had this huge spiritual awakening, and now it's hard for her to connect with those people who did not have that awakening.
I've been really feeling that this week. I felt this in the past, but then there was stay-at-home orders, and then also everyone was kind of staying away from each other, and now everyone's getting back into it or whatever. And I totally get what she's saying. And I think a lot of us who listen to this podcast, we like to jump in now into really deep, deep conversations. And it actually feels weird to not talk about the stuff that's actually super stressful and the stuff that's really on our minds, or the stuff that we're just really thinking and are analyzing right now. And so I totally resonate with that. Well, so Abby, our littlest, started dance.
Yes.
And so I'm it was her first, Tuesday was her first dance class. And I'm okay, I told myself I'm going to do it. I'm going to go be social. I'm going to go. I have to make friends. I want her to feel comfortable. So I'm going to jump myself into new people, new situations, be kind of how I used to be in a way. And I did it. And man, I felt so flippin' awkward. I can't even tell you, I felt so weird. I felt like I was in I don't know, a banana costume or something, just sitting there. So obviously I walk up, moms were starting to congregate, and everyone's hey, I'm this is my kid. This is my name. This is what grade. Okay, fine. All that. All the moms that were talking were yellow. They were all yellow auras, some sort of yellow combination. Within 10 minutes, I'm on the WhatsApp conversation, obviously, because that's what yellow people do. I'm on the mom group. They're all right, let's get everybody's number. They organized it. I have the links to what shoes everyone's going to buy for their kids. So I'm okay, all right. So that was fine. And then everyone's just kind of standing around, and they're talking and they're pleasant, lovely, wonderful people. But they were just all kind of talking a little just small talk. And I just am not used to it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just not. And I feel so weird. And then I'm is there something wrong with me? Or what, why can't I make friends? Or then I feel I can't connect with people. I mean, I was and I came home and I told you, and I'm I just feel so awkward. I don't know how to be around people anymore who don't talk like this.
Right. Exactly.
Because then I have other friends, and then who I know more or whatever. And then we'll just be hey, and obviously it's okay, that's a cute shirt, or small talk. But then we just get into it hey, me and my husband have been trying to reconnect more. Oh, how, then we get kind of more deep, immediately without even thinking about it.
Yeah. So what would you recommend? I mean, let's say someone is in this position, at one time they were very social. They were able to do this, but now they've had this change. And now they really don't feel connected to these people, and they feel kind of alone. Maybe they feel lonely. I don't know.
I've had that happen. I
mean, what do you recommend?
Well, I see a lot of people in my readings, and they have the same exact situation. And the fact is that you're going to grow out of people after a spiritual awakening. That's true. You're going to grow out of people. You're going to have relationships that just don't. They're scratching the surface, and you like to go below that surface now. When you're around them, maybe you can do like, a coffee once in a while, but it's not going to be like the main squeeze of a friendship it used to be. It's just normal to kind of just grow onward from, I think like when we have kids, if we think about our children, sometimes the friends they're in preschool with, in middle school, you're not best friends anymore. And we think, oh, that's normal. They just grew and they evolved and they changed interests. And because it's kids, we're like, well, that's just how it is. You kind of grow apart, but you hold an affection for one another. Why, when we're adults, all of a sudden we're told to just stop growing? Nope, you can't do it anymore. You have to be the same after, I don't know what age it is, but you have to hit that age and then don't change anymore. Well, it's the friends you have at 20 aren't going to be the friends you have at 30, aren't going to be the friends you have at 40 necessarily. And, some friends stick through, they're like family to us. That's different. But some friends, it's like you just kind of grow apart, and it's as normal and as acceptable, and it's as okay as it was when you're not friends with your kindergarten friend anymore and you're in 6th grade and you're playing with a different group. It's okay. That's my advice. I mean, I guess normalize it, but it's sad.
Yeah.
It is sad because, and then you think about that version of yourself that was friends with them, and it's just, you think, oh, I should go back to that, but then it doesn't feel right to go back to that. So it's weird.
Yeah, and and that's why the Mr. Micheala Spiritual Family page works so well, I think, the group, because they are like-minded people. There are a lot of indigos, like she said. And we do the discussion groups. And when people in those discussion groups, they find each other. Yeah. And they feel, oh, wow, I feel at home here, even though it's through Zoom. Yeah. And maybe they've never met these people before. They feel so close to each other right away. Within the first hour of them chatting with each other, they feel so close because they're on that same frequency. They're on that same wavelength. And they don't have to talk about maybe, what's in, what are you cooking for dinner or something that they don't really want to be talking about. They want to get deeper.
Yeah, you can get deeper. And I think, I had a reading this week with a lovely woman, and she's retired, okay? And she's going through something that is very hard for the people around her to understand. She's going through something, it's very spiritual. It's very much something that she doesn't know how to talk about to herself, let alone the people in her life. And she needs new people to talk about. Like when we find like-minded people, like we do on the page, the Facebook page or whatever, the thing is you can go right into it and there's no judgment because we're right there with you. Right. Yeah, it's kind of finding people on the same vibration, like you said, because you can find somebody on the same vibration and be like, hey, I'm going through this cataclysmic shift in my life spiritually and I don't quite know what's going on. They're like, hey, I get that. And that they do, and they receive it and they hold space for it. And you don't feel like there's this major valley between you and somebody else anymore. You're spiritually together. So it's hard to find new friends, though, when we're a certain age. It is. That's why I like our group so much, because a lot of new friends are found.
Definitely. All right. So we got a couple ads to do. When we come back, we're going to talk about considering the source. I'm going to practice my yoga. You're going to help me. I'm going to do the waddling toddler.
Okay.
You know that one, right?
Yeah, the waddling toddler, right after the chicken pot pie.
All right, here's a word from PayPal.
Every time I go into CVS, I have a million things I have to get. It's miscellaneous. I don't know why I don't get the basket at the front of the door. I really should, because I end up just holding everything. And then, I get up to the counter. I don't want to hold up the whole line. People have places to be behind me. So why not pull out my phone instead of my wallet and dig around through my purse when I already have my phone in my hand? Because guess what? PayPal QR code payments are now accepted at CVS stores nationwide. So it's super easy to make touch-free payments with your phone. Also, free money, people. You get $10 cash back on your first purchase of $20 or more. If you've used PayPal like I have, you understand that this app is extremely trustworthy and secure for any purchases that you make wherever you are. It's so convenient to use PayPal and CVS, and basically you're getting paid to use it. Free money, right? So it's just a few taps in the app. I'm done. I don't have to deal with pulling out change or my credit card or waiting or, waiting too long or keeping everybody up in the line. It works with the cashier or at self-checkout. And also, again, that $10 cash back the first time I made that purchase of $20 or more. It was almost like getting everything half off. I've used PayPal for years for online purchases. I use it for my practice, but I love how I can use it in stores now, and I'm getting the same security. So to get $10 cash back on your first transaction of $20 or more, just head to your local CVS and pay using your PayPal or Venmo app. That's how easy it is. That's $10 cash back on your first purchase of $20 or more with the PayPal or Venmo app. To see terms and learn more about how to earn that $10 cash back, go to paypal.com/KYA. I sure do hope you've been listening to our Dipsy ads, because I am blessed to have a voice model here today. Hey, Scott.
Hey, guys.
So, Scott, what do you do in the Dipsy app?
Okay, so basically, I'm here to turn you off after you get turned on. So, like, if you have like somewhere to go, you got to go to CVS and use your PayPal, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm here to turn you off. You don't want to go out in that state. So if you listen to mine, then, it helps.
You can go out in society again.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know what? Everyone needs an escape, but those can be hard to come by right now. Enter Dipsy. Let yourself get lost in a world where good things happen and where your pleasure is the only priority.
This story is called Getting Pumpkin Spice Coffee.
Dipsy is an audio app full of short, sexy stories designed to turn you on.
The date was August 7th, and I craved a pumpkin spice coffee.
Each Dipsy audio story features characters that feel like real people and immersive scenarios, so you feel like you're right there.
I went to the coffee shop. I pondered, was it too soon for pumpkin spice?
Listen to stories about hooking up with your hometown crush you never made a move on, or that coworker you always had a little thing for, or maybe a story that puts you in bed with someone who's telling you exactly what they'd like to do to you.
The barista said, no pumpkin spice till August 10th.
They release new content every week, so there's always more to explore, no matter who you're into or what turns you on.
My demeanor shifted. I was glum.
And if you need to wind down, Dipsy also has wellness sessions, sensual bedtime stories, and soundscapes to help you relax before you drift off.
The barista said, try a TikTok drink.
Viral drink. For listeners of the show, Dipsy is offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipsystories.com/KYA. That's 30 days of full access for free when you go to Dipsy, DIPSEA, stories.com/KYA, dipsystories.com/KYA. Try it for free. So today I'm talking about codependency in a new way, and I'm going to talk about that more focused after this. But first, I wanted to bring up how in my own relationship with you, Scott, like I ask you a lot of times, like, oh wait, am I being codependent? And I'm like, am I caring too much about what this person thinks of me? Because, I put a lot of my worth in external sources. So because I can feel other people's feelings about me, if they're poor or good, I will take that as my own source of, am I, good or bad from what I'm getting from other people. So just in our relationship, just how long we've been together or whatnot, sometimes I'm like, wait a second, was I wrong here? Was I right here? How should I approach this? Like, am I going, usually with me, I go over the top. Am I doing over the top? Am I doing too much? Am I overextending or whatever? And you always give me amazing advice, which you have to repeat like way more than you probably should.
Like every day.
Yeah, because you always say, consider the source.
Consider the source,
Okay,
yeah.
So explain that to us who might need that kind of, I guess, grounding feeling.
Well, what I would say, consider the source. Who is the person that told you this? If you came to me and you told me, I was doing this or something like that, I hold you in such high regard and esteem that it would hurt me, and I would actually take into account what you were saying.
So if I'm like, hey, do this for me, do that for me, or if I told you like, you hurt my feelings if or whatever, you would take that into more consideration.
Right. So if you came to me like said, hey, Scotty, you're not doing this right.
Right.
What you're doing here is wrong, and you might think you're right here, but you're really not doing this correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to ponder it first. At first, I'm going to give my red reaction, which is, okay,
like,
whatever.
no.
I'm gonna be like, yeah, whatever. And then after you leave the room or whatever, I'm going to ponder on it, and I'm going to think about it, and then realize you're probably right.
Because it's coming from me.
Because it's coming from you.
And that because we have a relationship that's like solid and good and mutually respectful.
Correct.
And it's okay. And what I think about you does matter.
Right. Exactly. And again, it did used to take me a longer time to realize that, and now I'm quicker on that.
Well, both of us, you know, like we mature as you get older. But yes.
Yeah. And the same thing, if I had like, you know, when I was teaching, if there was a teacher who I felt like really was an honorable teacher, a strong teacher, an excellent teacher, and they told me I was doing something, I would take that with much greater responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, I would really try to understand what they were saying.
It would hold more water. Yeah.
But, you know, sometimes you just got to consider the source. And if someone like you realize it's just not a good person, or they're having things in their life that, you know, is bringing them down, you know, why are they saying this? Who are they to you? You know, maybe it's okay that this person attacked you.
Right.
Because they really aren't, you know, a good person, you know, or they're just not in a good frame of mind. You know, you have to really consider the source when someone's kind of coming at you or attacking you for something, or trying to bring you down, or trying to get you off your spiritual awakening. You know, consider that source. And do you respect that source? Is that you have to look at that.
That's it. So you're on the HOA, which is it's a thing in Florida. It's the Homeowners Association.
Yes, I think 7 years.
You've been on it for 7 years,
7 years,
and nobody can join the HOA if they're a codependent empath. Like, it's just never, like, I could never be on the HOA because you don't talk about it a whole lot, but like at meetings people go and they literally scream at you all, at the board members, for like, my sprinklers didn't turn on today. Or like, I don't know, the garbage trucks come too early and they wake me up. Like, or just, I mean,
anything.
The most ridiculous, or I should be allowed to park in the middle of the street on a Tuesday, even though ambulances can't get by if they had to. So why am I getting this fine? Like, people scream at you. People go on the Facebook page. We have a community Facebook page, and say the most ridiculous things. Attacking you all. I mean, it's just, you laugh. I couldn't do it because, like, I would be like, and this is a journey. It's a journey. And I'm going to talk about that next, the journey. Yeah. But I would be like, oh my gosh, they don't like me, therefore I'm not doing something right. So how do you deal with that?
No, it doesn't bother me at all, to be honest with you.
So toxic.
Maybe on the first meeting of my first year,
right?
Maybe it bothered me. I don't think so even, but it just doesn't bother me because, you know, I go by the handbook, the rules. Obviously, I use my logic, my sense, you know, my common sense to do these things. And first of all, I've seen everything. I've heard everything. Right. There's nothing new. Actually, I could have put burnt out on my list. That could have been number 11.
Hearing about
burnt
sprinklers.
Out of hearing the same stories about sprinklers. So, I mean, the other day, I think we had a guy, he comes in pretty much every month and says his sprinklers aren't working. You know, every month he yells at me, screams, my sprinklers aren't working. You know, the sprinklers going on all different times. Maybe he's sleeping, I told him. I don't know.
Yeah,
but he said, I'll wait up all night. He
rotation.
told me I'll stay up all night. I'm like, okay, stay up all night.
Okay.
Or I could just send someone out to look and check. You know, so it's like, basically, he's screaming and yelling at me, and I'm just kind of logically saying, well, the best I could do for you, the only thing I could do for you is have someone come out and check.
But you come home from that meeting, and you have your pumpkin spice coffee and a little muffin, and you got a little smile on your face. And, like, I couldn't, like, after any sort of confrontation or interaction like that, I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't.
Yeah, well, because I'm here, and again, I'm
I
considering.
couldn't sleep that night.
It's a source.
You're considering the source.
Yeah, it's this guy who, for just in this example, is this guy who comes in every time. First of all, I know his sprinklers work. Okay, we've had him checked, and I don't know why he's yelling at me.
Right.
It's something that's going on in his life that is so mundane. You know, this is such a mundane thing that there has to be something going on in his life.
Yeah.
For him to do this.
Right.
You know, it's not me. I'm not the problem here. So,
but you can really separate that. See, that's, I think, the difference what I'm going to talk about coming up. The thing is like when you're somebody who can feel other people's pain, it becomes your pain. You have some sort of ability to put a wall, like a soundproof wall between your pain and his pain, or yourself and his pain.
Right.
And I can't do that. And I think a lot of us listening can't do that. So it's even being around people like that. I want them to be happy. Forget about whether they're right or wrong. I just want them to be happy, so I don't feel that anymore. It's kind of like if somebody was smelly and I had to spend time with them, I'd want to just shower, just clean them up or whatever, because I wouldn't have to smell it.
So that's very interesting. But I kind of also sometimes look at it from a different the different perspective here.
Okay.
Okay, so like, just go back to the HOA because it's on my mind now. We had another guy who wanted to park his van and in the street, but his van has like his business logo on it.
Right.
Okay, in our community, you
It's
cannot.
like a rule.
You can't have the business logo on it. It has to be covered.
Okay.
So like, you can't have like,
So they buy those big magnets and put it over the logo
Right,
when they're parked.
Yeah, you have
I think
to cover
that's what they
it.
do. Yeah.
Right. So he was not covering it, and he got a fine for it. Now, here's the thing. I don't really care.
Right.
It does not bother me.
And you're not the person that goes around with the fines either.
Yeah. I mean, I could, but
Yeah, you don't
I used
usually
to
do that.
actually, but I could. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I was trying to tell him, I don't care.
Right.
I really don't care about your sticker. You could have your sticker.
Right.
The problem is we have a lot of Karens in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And they care about that sticker.
Yeah.
I don't know why
The
they care
Karens
about
are the
that
ones
sticker.
yelling at
Yeah,
telling
yeah.
on you.
Yeah.
The Karens are telling on you. It's not
Right,
me.
Right. So, I was just logically trying to explain to him, although he was very upset. He's yelling at me.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not getting bothered by it. And again, his sticker does not bother me. But I'm trying to tell him that if he does keep the sticker, X amount of Karens in the neighborhood are going to be upset.
This is so 3D.
Yeah. So
This is so 3D.
So I guess if you look at it like you're trying to please, like if you were trying to please that guy that came in with the stickers,
Yeah.
and make him feel
Yes.
good. But then on the opposite end, there's going to be 10 Karens.
There's 10 Karens that
that are
now
going to
don't
feel upset.
feel good.
Yeah, don't feel good.
Because it is in the rule book. See, this
Right.
is why I love this 3D world of the HOA because it's so frickin' 3D that we can sit here and try to bring it to the 5D somehow by explaining like empath codependency within
Yeah.
it or like whatever. But okay, so what you're saying is when you're like codependent on one person's opinion or feeling about you.
Correct.
What happens is there's a lot of other people that can maybe 10 times as many are going to be disappointed because you're stuck in this zone of doing for the wrong person instead of being unliked by the wrong person. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And being a better person for the other people, which goes back to my whole issue with the whole recovering empath. What happens is a lot of us were told to pay attention to the loudest, most toxic voice in the room growing up and throughout our lives. So we will be attracted to the loudest, most toxic voice in the room and suddenly get codependent upon them.
Right.
Instead of being maybe that way towards people that are quieter or more healthy or have better boundaries. Yeah. And those people would be better to kind of align towards.
Right. And my ability is when I hear the loudest, most crazy person in the room, I shut them down.
Yeah.
And I use logic to forget it. Now, you can come at me with your indigo.
Oh,
and that way you can get to me.
The crying.
So if you can make a case, that kind of story using an indigo kind of blue, they could get past me. Those ones.
So if Signage Man came,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Listen, like this is a family business. Covering up the logo, it makes me feel like my dad's dying all over again because I'm covering up what his legacy and what he made. I'm proud of that logo, and putting that big magnet ugly sticker over it is making me just kill myself inside." And you'd be like, "You know what? No fine." Is that what you're saying?
Something like that.
Yeah. So it's all about the delivery and the approach.
Yeah, exactly.
That is so funny.
It's really funny.
All right. Well, thanks for explaining. Consider the source.
Consider the source. Yeah, always consider that
Maybe
source.
that's a good
because if it's not coming from a good place, and you don't know the motives of that person,
right?
Everyone has motives, no matter what it is. It could be, good motives, bad motives, but everyone is coming at you with motives. Some are genuine, of course, but just consider that before you go into a tailspin over what that person said or did to you. Just consider that person, and what kind of person they are, and what they're going through. Because most of the time, it's actually based on what they're going through, not you at all.
Well, that's like in the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. He says you can't take anything. Don't take anything personally. It's never about you.
Yeah, and I think I've said this before on the podcast too, and that works the other way too. If someone gives you a great compliment, and it's a source, also consider the source.
Yeah.
Because it might not be true.
Right. Or it could just be because based off of what you did for them, and maybe they're not like when we talk about narcissism, a lot of narcissists are like, "Oh, you're so good to me. You did the best for me." They use those compliments or those good reviews of you to keep you in their manipulation loops.
Yeah.
But back to the whole core of it is when you're an empath, a very deep defined empath, and you alter your behavior for this stuff, that's what I'm going to be talking about next. just how it's so hard to kind of, I don't know, just like reprogram yourself and notice it differently.
Yeah. I mean, there's some people in this world, if they gave me a compliment, I would actually be in worse shape because I would have to be like, what am I doing wrong that this person likes me?
Oh, you like reevaluate your whole life.
Yes. If they were insulting me, I'd be like, oh, perfect. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Thank you for insulting me
right
because you're a bad person. But these people, if they actually gave me a compliment, I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Thanks,
right.
Scott.
All right. We got a couple of ads and then we'll get into it.
All right. Sometimes I need a little nudge, a little self-care nudge, and Sakara gives me that because honestly, feeling your best starts with what you eat. Sakara helps you not just eat healthy, but truly enjoy it with chef-crafted, plant-rich meals that build a foundation for radiant health. And honestly, they don't just focus on food. It's a nutrition company. Sakara is a nutrition company that focuses on overall wellness. They just start with what you eat. Their organic, ready-to-eat meals are made with powerful plant-based ingredients and are designed to minimize your sugar cravings, which is my big thing. So their meals are really good because they boost your energy, minimize those sugar cravings, and improve your digestion, and they get your skin glowing. Sakara's chef-crafted breakfasts, lunches, dinners are absolutely delicious. They're backed by cutting-edge nutrition science to boost your health and stoke your glow, and it's delivered fresh to your door anywhere in the U.S., along with delicious plant-rich meals. Sakara also offers daily wellness rituals like supplements and herbal teas to support your nutrition. You can experience their best-selling Metabolism Super Powder and Metabolism Super Bar to control those sugar cravings, reduce bloating, boost energy, and reduce fatigue. Sakara has received rave reviews from Vogue, Goop, the New York Times, and more. It's like a health spa brought to you. It's a great little nudge into wellness if you're feeling a little stuck or overwhelmed right now. And right now, Sakara is offering our listeners 20% off their first order when they go to sakara.com/KYA or enter code KYA at checkout. That's Sakara, SAKARA.com/KYA to get 20% off your first order. That's sakara.com/KYA. It's that feeling that in the pit of your stomach when you just dread looking at your credit card statements. You're not alone. So many Americans experienced financial hardship in the last year, but Upstart can help you regain your footing and get things back on track. Upstart is the fast and easy way to pay off your debt with a personal loan all online, whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high interest debt, or funding personal expenses. Over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get one fixed monthly payment. Upstart knows you're more than just your credit score, and expanding access to affordable credit is what they do. Unlike other lenders, Upstart considers your income and current employment to find you a smarter rate for your loan. With a 5-minute, that's it, just 5 minutes, online rate check, you can see your rate up front for loans between $1,000 to $50,000. You can receive funds as fast as one business day after accepting your loan. So find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/KYA. That's upstart.com/KYA. Don't forget to use our URL to let them know we sent you. We do appreciate that. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/KYA. And now let's talk about the codependent empath. Today I wanted to talk about something that comes up a lot, and that's codependency, and particularly codependency within empaths, because we behave differently and we need to understand what codependency is in relation to that and the different ways we can work on it because we know more about ourselves now. So today I'm going to talk about what the signs and symptoms of codependency are and how they relate to empath abilities, what makes our codependency behave in self-destructive ways, and I'm going to give you my spiritual take on codependency and how we can move forward with it and manage it. So, I mean, it's amazing all the ways codependency shows up. Like, do you find yourself being really stressed out to make a plan without inviting everyone you know because you don't want anyone to feel left out? Or do you struggle with going somewhere on a trip solo because you feel like your partner will be lonely? Or are you constantly finding yourself reading in between the lines and worrying about what people aren't saying instead of what they are saying? You have a really hard time taking people at face value. Do you ever give up your entire weekend to help a friend move, even though you needed that day off to yourself? Or you agree with coworkers, yeah, I'll do that project, even though you know all your own stuff is getting done, not getting done. You're going to have to do it on the weekend or whatever. Do you always insist on triangulating, like, okay, your sisters are having a fight and then you step in because you can't handle the conflict, so you feel like you have to step in? Do you have just overall the worst time making any sort of decision? Not even the big ones. I'm talking about where should I move, or what career should I do, but also where should I go out to eat, or where do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to eat? Those kind of things. Okay, these are just a few very nuanced examples of codependent behavior. But first, what is codependency just traditionally defined? It's defined as an excessive emotional or psychological reliance on a partner. So it's not really a mental illness. And again, I'm not a professional, okay? I always say this whenever we talk about mental health type topics. I am not a professional. I'm just giving you my take on it and what I see in readings, but that's what it's defined as. And it's really when a person funnels all of their energy on the people in their life, their issues, their need for support and attention, well beyond any crisis they're having. So it's when you don't make time or space for yourself. You're always looking to fill the needs of other people instead, and you constantly elevate the needs of others above your own all of the time. You basically forget where you end and a partner or friend or relationship or coworker or anybody else really who you're around begins. When I talk about the programmed and invisible empath in episode 4, the recovering empath, this is where codependency can really thrive and flourish in many empaths, especially if you're in a family where you were programmed very early on that your worth was only in your ability to please, help, support, and blend in. If you weren't in a family where they openly talked about how empaths feel, other people's feelings as your own, if you really had a chance to never make that take root, then you created behaviors and identities around being the helper and supporter in all your relationships instead of anytime being an acceptor or a taker or vulnerably asking for support instead. And over time, as you grow up, perhaps you've looked for places and people and just contexts which just support that codependent, overly supportive behavior. And it can be really difficult to disentangle yourself from the relationship and the work environment. And anything that you built your life around probably has codependent ties to it. So people, when you start to not be codependent anymore, as much as you were, people are going to notice. Because it's just kind of oh, are you mad at me? Or why aren't you doing this? Or why didn't you do that? They might think you're cold. They might think a lot of things. And the problem is you're going to feel it all. Because if I can never say this enough, and, there's a lot of stuff about empaths out there nowadays. And sometimes I get upset about it. Not upset, but annoyed because they simplify it too much. When you're a true empath and you're awakened and you're kind of raw about it, you not only feel other people's feelings as your own, you alter your behavior for them. And on top of that, what's more, you do it all subconsciously. So you can make it like you want to do that. So being codependent for you might just feel like your personality to other people. So when you stop being codependent, they might think you had a lobotomy or something, when actually you're just working on boundaries. Okay. When you're an empath, you can borrow other people's joy. You can. They feel joy, you can borrow it. You can borrow other people's sorrows. You have this need of being fulfilled through them, through their own joys and desires, and then you can build up self-worth from solving their problems when you borrow their satisfaction or their feeling of support or validation that you've just given them. So you can borrow all that. So the inner state of you is dependent on another person's inner state. Therefore, they create, codependent people, if you're one of us, create a responsibility to basically maintain the people around us, their emotional happiness, so as to keep our own feeling of worth and stability going. I mean, that just means everything that you think about yourself lives outside of you. And that is a very precarious, unbalanced way to live. And a lot of you have lived most of your life like that. So waking up to it can be really overwhelming because you're like, wow, every single flippin' relationship in my life, they're just used to me caring more about them than myself. So it's going to be weird. And you're not going to be able to turn it off, which I'm going to get to. So something interesting can happen. You can start to notice that other people don't think the way that you do. Okay? This is weird. This is weird. You're like, wait a second. Other people don't care that, like, they didn't invite everyone they know. Other people don't care that, like, I don't know, I wrote this in a way or like, they're not asking me how I feel, or they're not, like, other people aren't extending to me the courtesy that I extend to them. Yeah. And I learned this in my own therapy, and it's called a cognitive distortion. And it, like, is the bane of my existence. And I think a lot of you can understand this. It's that other people don't think like you. So if you do something because you feel like it's polite and they don't do that same thing back to you, they don't extend the same courtesy, like, later in a different context, it's like, whoa, what the heck? What is this? And that's the thing. Like, if you go above and beyond, you can't expect other people to go above and beyond for you. It's just, you're going to get disappointed. And the ego will make you be like, oh, you know, this is about you. And it's not. It's just other people don't, you know, that's why we have to look to intentions with people sometimes, plus the actions, and, like, choose things. But yeah, you will realize eventually that you are the one worrying about them all the time, and they seriously don't do that about you. And you can take that behavior very personally and feel victimized from it. And sometimes it's real. Like, sometimes you did, you know, sometimes it's simply because you've been choosing people who are inherently and truly more selfish than other people, because you're the type of friend that they require. And that's the life that you've built up around yourself with a lot of needy people, because you have codependent behavior. And, like, the whole thing is like a whole perfect, habitat or ecology. Is that the word? Ecological system where you feed them and they take, and everything's great. Sometimes people aren't intentional about their not thinking about you, but it can still hurt feelings. And as you wake up from your codependency, it gets a little obvious. So if you're stuck in a victimized role, which I totally get, and it's honestly part of the recovering empath, one of the steps is the victimized empath. Like, there are times you're going to feel like a victim, and that's okay. Like, you can live in that. So you can't stay there, but at least, like, notice it. Like, I'm feeling really victimized lately. Today, this is how I'm feeling. And you can sit there in it for a minute and kind of gather the necessary energy you need from it, but they have to be lessons. And one of the lessons has to be, how do I move forward now with this new knowledge? So here's the thing. Being codependent, I have found, has been super isolating to me in my own life. And not until I started doing readings and meeting more people like me, and, you know, all of you, a lot of you, and listening to the podcast, people I do readings for, and people on the page, the Mystic Micheala Spiritual Family page and whatnot. It's something I constantly see in others now as well. So I don't feel as alone, but I want you to feel less alone too. Being codependent can make you feel completely alone, because you're the only one kind of leaving your island of inner self to constantly go over their islands of inner self. And nobody comes to you. Nobody, like, swims out to your little island. So you can feel very alone. And what I had to realize, and it's a journey, which I'm still working on, is that you have to let people in to your little island. The ones that are willing to swim out to you, to your little self in your world, you have to let them in. And you have to let them see you, and you have to let them help you too. And it's awkward as heck. I know it is. It's super awkward when you're always the giver, and then you meet people who are like you. They like to give. You have to let them be good to you, or call you, or say, how are you? Or let's talk. Or you have to let them, and you have to let them in. And that's hard when you're not used to it. But that's part of, like, the spiritual development, spiritual awakening. Like, you start attracting people who are willing to do that. And then it's a mutual relationship where you're helping them and they're helping you, and it's mutual. And that's really nice. It's nice when you have that. So what is codependency originally? Codependency is just a way of behaving in relationships. And honestly, the term codependency was coined back in the 1940s to help describe, like, behavior patterns they noticed in partners and family members of people living with addiction and alcoholism in particular. So that's really where it started. So if you've had any relationship with an addict, you get that like right away. You get this pretty clear. It's pretty obvious to have a relationship with somebody who is dealing with the affliction of addiction. Many times you end up or somebody in their life ends up supporting or enabling their behavior just to get by. I have a close friend, and her sister is just, it's in and out, a very, very self-destructive alcoholic. And the things, she would do. And her parents, she couldn't live alone. She constantly was overdosing, liver's on its, she's not old. She's not even 30. Her liver's on its last mile, they told her. And when they would basically try to, all the rehab, everything. And then when they try to dry her out and make sure there was no alcohol in the house, she'd go for, the hand sanitizer. She'd go for the Listerine. She'd go for chemicals in the house. If it had any, she'd go for the rubbing alcohol. She'd drink it, and then she just would. So they bought alcohol for her. They did. Is that enabling? That's the thing. When you're dealing with somebody who has an addiction, sometimes it's oh my gosh, please don't do that awful thing to make the money to go buy it. I'll just give you the money to go buy it because I don't want you to go out there and do God knows what to earn it. So we're just going to give you the money. It becomes kind of something, that's how it was originally defined. And that is a thing. The making excuses, the hiding their use, or the protecting the person from any fallout or consequences of their actions. That's all part of codependency within addiction, relationships with addiction, families with addiction situations. But now psychology understands that it's not just limited to the families and relationships centering around addiction. It can show up in many situations. So not just the ones involving substance abuse. So according to a 2018 research review, patterns of codependent behavior generally involve four main themes: self-sacrifice, a tendency to focus on others, a need for control, which may fuel conflict, and the difficulty of recognizing and expressing one's own emotions. So if that sounds like you, that's kind of the main themes of codependent behavior. But let's talk about if any of this sounds familiar. I took these from psychcentral.com, and these are the common signs of codependency. So I'm just going to list them. There's a few here. I'm just going to list them. I'm just going to go through and just yes or no in your head. So here we go. A deep-seated need for approval from others, self-worth that depends on what others think about you, a habit of taking on more work than you can realistically handle, both to earn praise or to lighten a loved one's burden, a tendency to apologize or take on blame in order to keep the peace, a pattern of avoiding conflict, a tendency to minimize or ignore your own desires, excessive concern about a loved one's habits or behaviors, a habit of making decisions for others or trying to manage loved ones, a mood that reflects how others feel rather than your own emotions, guilt or anxiety when doing something for yourself, doing things you don't really want to do simply to make others happy, idealizing partners or other loved ones often to the point of maintaining relationships that leave you unfulfilled. I laugh because I feel like a lot of you are like, whoa, this isn't normal. Oh, and finally, overwhelming fears of rejection or abandonment. Come on. So how many of you feel like this is normal life? Other people don't feel that? No, they don't. It's really weird. I know, right? And the way I see it with a lot of empaths, this is kind of you're hardwired to be codependent. That's the thing. And nobody talks about it. But you're hardwired to be codependent because you can feel other people's feelings as your own. You're a healer. It's hard to differentiate healthy behavior from codependent behavior because of that. So to alter your behavior to fix that output of emotions from the people around you, it's just kind of normalized. And it's going to obviously be more common in close relationships because you have to see them every day. But honestly, it can happen just even anywhere, really. It can be hard to you can be codependent to strangers in a grocery store line or oh, whatever, and it's just notice it. Okay. So I have a lot, reading a lot of clients in a lot of different walks of life. a lot of times, like if I read someone who they're getting divorced and they've never lived alone, or they haven't lived alone for like a really long time, and the person they're divorcing was like super toxic and very needy and had a lot of issues, and my client who I'm reading is, you know, codependent, like probably most of us here, and they are the first time living alone, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, like, because your energy's not meshing with other people. So remember, when you're an empath, your aura, okay, can pick up other people's auras. So if you're living with somebody super toxic or stressed out or angry or like hurt, or their inner child is like super wounded and they just are super needy and they have all these like unresolved issues that they don't talk about or like acknowledge, but you do. And finally, you're not living with them every day. You're not like passing them to the bathroom. You're not like washing dishes and they're coming in to make their coffee. Like you're not, you know, all of a sudden you're not sharing space with them anymore. Something crazy happens. You feel your own feelings and you're like, whoa, what's that? That's my own feeling. Wait a second. Why do I feel so much happier? Why do I feel lighter? Why do I feel better? Yeah. And you can feel bad because like you got divorced. And you can feel bad because, man, it sucks that that had to happen and all that. But also you can feel better. And that's feeling one thing. And then also you can feel bad about something and then still feel really good inside at the same time. And that's kind of when somebody who is sucking all your energy and you were in their space more than your own, when they leave your space, yeah, you can feel a lot more like you. So you might even feel this like moving out of your parents' house and living on your own the first time. You're like, oh my gosh, like I'm not all these things they said, or even if it was like a great relationship with them, it just might be nice to kind of feel your own feelings. Like you don't have the roles or the labels kind of like constantly energetically put on you. You're not always thinking, you know, oh, I should do this, or mom's going to say this, or oh, I should do this, or my brother's going to say this. Like you're not living in a codependent environment anymore. It's just you. It's I've never lived alone, but it's like it is. I'm sure because when I read people, they have this kind of like, oh, like it's nice. They feel better. They can feel sad that they're, you know, maybe whatever, not other things are perfect, but they feel good. And that's because your codependency issues got a break. They got a break. Okay. There is a difference between codependency and dependency. And the thing is, you know, acknowledging you have this ability to feel other feelings as your own and at times sacrifice their needs for your own will help you choose the right people to do this for. And that's important. There are in a relationship, sometimes you do make concessions for them. And as long as they're making concessions for you too. The problem is that many of us don't feel comfortable being takers. We'll connote it with being selfish. So when you're told your whole life that the only value you have is that of giving and self-sacrificing, there's this intense fear your inner child has of hurting and disappointing and being unloved by people in your life. So it's really hard to let others give to you when you feel like they won't have a need for you anymore once they start giving and you start taking. So finding someone who is healthy enough in themselves to give to you as well, that's a challenge. And then being comfortable with somebody who has their life somewhat together enough and has personal responsibility and consideration can be scary and even frightening because it can topple you off your center where the codependency has made you feel like your only value is completely sacrificing yourself for other people's needs. But healthy dependency is good. Like that's when you feel comfortable to state your own needs and desires to a friend or a relation, in any relationship. When you ask for support, when you find yourself struggling, you know, you get vulnerable. You're like, hey, you know what? Can you help me out? Actually, I'm having a hard time finishing this project. Can you help me? You know, feeling safe and comfortable expressing your own needs. Letting others know when they're asking too much of you without worrying that they'll reject you. In short, you can support others, but you don't sacrifice your own needs in order to do so. And then they can feel comfortable doing that with you too. So, like I said, this is only achieved when you're an empath by understanding that you're going to feel the feelings of others and it's going to hurt you. And you're going to have to stop yourself from altering your behavior to do the easy thing, which short term you've been told the easy thing is just acquiescing all the time. And then your subconscious and your ego tells you that that's what you want, but it's not. So how couples can achieve this, you know, our friends or family members, it does require vulnerability. It requires you actually digging into yourself first, which a lot of us don't do. Like, you know what? I I don't know, more help around the house with my partner. I noticed that I'm doing dishes. I cook, I go grocery shopping, I cook, I do dishes, I serve, I clear the table, I do dishes. Okay, maybe your partner doesn't know that you need help doing that. Not everyone's a mind reader, and you can't expect them to be. Cognitive distortion, because I didn't know that. Okay. So yeah, you have to say like, hey, could you help me with this? Could you take on a role that I'd really appreciate it if you could help me too. Just saying it, that requires a vulnerability. And also it requires you to step out of the whole victimization thing where you're the one that does everything. And that's like your identity. So maybe you're used to feeling like put upon or victimized or like used. So you have to actually speak up for yourself and say like, hey, can you help me with this? And then if they're normal, they're like, oh yeah, of course. As long as you said it normal, they'll do it, if they're normal too. So it's kind of like getting used to it, asking for what you need. Like I said, it requires you to be vulnerable. It also requires you to be thankful and grateful for somebody else. And this may not be a regular thing for you. So if somebody helps you out with something and you just got vulnerable and you allowed them to, it may touch a place on you inside where you don't feel worthy. Oh, I don't deserve that help. And that's real deep in there somewhere. And I don't feel allowed to be in this world if I'm not constantly serving. It can feel very uncomfortable to let somebody be there for you instead of the other way around. Because then you can feel like you owe them something, or you can feel like you're just knocked off your identity. Codependency is not your identity. It's just a behavior you learned. So what causes codependency? When you grew up in a family, be it a good one or a bad one, with really poor boundaries, codependency can become a coping mechanism, and your needs go unmet to meet theirs instead. I mean, you can imagine all the ways, like maybe abuse, if you're a victim of physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. I mean, codependent behavior right away, it can come in. It's a survival technique at this point. Parents or caregivers that ignore a child's needs in favor of their own. A caregiver with some sort of personality disorder, like narcissism, which just basically you have to suppress yourself in order to be who they need you to be so you can get their love and protection, especially, as a child. This is survival. You can get it in a family with controlling or overprotective caregivers who just are way too sheltering, living vicariously through you. They're way too restrictive with the boundaries. You can't do this. You can't hang out with this person. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can get it where one or both parents left the family. So all of a sudden you have a major, when you're a little kid, I see this all the time with little kids who I read, dad left and the 4-year-old decided it was their fault. And they did, because that's what kids do. And that 4-year-old grows up into a 40-year-old. And even though they know it wasn't their fault, there's a little broken part of them that still feels like it was their fault. And that little part speaks up every time a friend I forgot to text you. I didn't mean it. Or I forgot to call you back, or whatever. And then all of a sudden that 4-year-old's like, oh my God, it's rejection. Oh my God, it's rejection. Because, so those little parts come back up. Caregivers alternating between loving and present to distant and unavailable. So you have you're anxious about it. Like maybe dad shows up, then dad doesn't show up, or mom shows up, mom doesn't show up. You never know, not dependable. Critique, bullying from parents or siblings or peers that just leave you with this lingering insecurity in all of your relationships. Those are just some ways you can get to be programmed as codependent. Here's the thing. In empath terms, you cannot unlearn how to feel other people's feelings as your own. It's a sense. You can't unlearn how to smell either. If somebody's smelly, you're never going to not be able to smell them. If somebody has feelings, you're never going to be able to learn how to unfeel them. So you can't turn it off. What you can do is notice it, self-identify, be self-aware. That's all the work we're trying to do here. This is everything I'm trying to do on the podcast because it's helped me so much, and it's a journey, and that's what I'm trying to help you guys to do too. Just see what this is and understand that what you're picking up may not be you. It may be their stuff. And then you have to make choices about the right times and the right people to feel and alter your behavior for. So how do we get past this? What the heck do we do with this codependency? And this is where I'm going to say something a little wacky. I really used to be ashamed of being codependent. really ashamed. I got told it a lot. I understood I was. I didn't know how to fix it. I latched onto it. It was my comfort. It was how I was likable. It's how I got things done. I didn't know how else to be. And I was really ashamed of it. I thought I was weak and sad and pathetic. And now I try to celebrate it. And I know that sounds really wacky after hearing all this about what codependency is, but I feel like villainizing it doesn't work. And at this point, if any of these symptoms or situations sound like you, let's face it, it's going to be hard to ever completely shut down your codependent behavior. It's a part of you now. What it is a part of the armor your ego used to help you get by, to survive. It was a survival mechanism. Just like in the wild, animals learn to sleep in trees or bury themselves in like holes to survive. You learn to be codependent. And now it has those same links to your primal brain as actual survival skills. Because let's face it, you probably would not have survived your childhood if you didn't do what you had to do, if you weren't codependent. So in a way, thank you, codependency. Thank you for getting me here to adulthood, where now I have the responsibility to make better choices. And now I'm in a place where I can't be punished for them. And I feel like that's what we have to say to our codependency. So first step, we got to look at it, and we got to give that codependency some gratitude, because it wasn't a pretty tool that you had, but it did the job. You're here. You survived. You got through it. And it kept you alive. It did. Kept you alive. And now we have to make sure that it stops being used by other people, by the wrong people. It's a tool that's our tool, not other people's tool anymore. The thing with this tool is that being codependent can sometimes be really good. Yeah, I said it. It can. You have an extrasensory ability. And because you used it to survive, it's a sharp tool. It knows exactly what to do. It has the ability to pick up super quick, in a few seconds, when you meet somebody, what they need, what the things they may not know they need, the things that make them feel safe, the gifts their soul is begging you for, all of that. You have that ability to feel it. Now, if someone is good to you and gives to you and is kind and unconditionally loving and they're personally responsible and they try to do right by you, why not? Why not use that codependent power for good? You can make sure they feel included. You can give them that nurturing. You can make sure they feel heard or seen. And if they're deserving of it and they're good to you back, maybe it's okay. But you got to let them do that to you too. And then it's mutual. And then it's okay. But the issue is we have that programmed, annoying habit, that repetitive habit of finding the people who extra need it and use the codependency for their own benefits. And they can be super sweet and act very needy for it. And they can give you the best thank yous for it. And we eat that up. But these are the toxic people that can come in and it's all about them. And they don't give you anything except, oh, thank you, you're the best. And then they just take it and move on. Because like I said in episode 4 of The Recovering Empath, when you don't understand what the whole empath thing is about, when you don't understand, okay, people will use it to their own benefits. You will get preyed upon. You have been preyed upon. You know that. Because you learn to put all of your worth outside of you and then borrow it from others. If they think you're good, okay, I'm good. If they think you're bad, now I'm bad. And who here listening has ever felt sick when someone else was upset at you? Absolutely sick. Because you weren't feeling anything except your ego reacting to the outside worth that was put outside of you not being filled. And then what happens is back to that primal thing, because codependency is a tool from your primal self that got you through and links up to your brain now that tells you you're going to die if people don't like you. I mean, that sounds dramatic, but I mean, that's what, you ever get tummy aches, panic attacks, can't sleep, stressed, anxiety, just because you think you said something the wrong way to the neighbor and now she's looking at you funny and you feel like you have to fix it? That's not about that situation. That's about something in you the codependency acting up on you, and you can stop it and you can look at it and you can be like, hey, wait a second. No, it's okay. It's going to be okay. So a lot of things I hear is anger at oneself for being codependent and shame and embarrassment. But I don't think this is something we can hate away from ourselves. You can't hate this out of yourself. It's something you actually have to fall in love with now. You have to appreciate it. You have to notice it. You have to validate it. You have to see it. It's something you have to give gratitude for. It got you through times. It did. And you're here. And you are here listening to this today. So you're here. So we're grateful that we're here. And it's something that you really have to understand backwards and forwards. So you know its number. You get its tricks. You know what it likes to do. You know what it tries to do. And then you can see it working when you do that. You'll have the upper hand on your codependency. And you can tell it, you got to shut down when you know that it's doing old ways stuff, or it's going after things that aren't important, or things that aren't mutually beneficial to you as well. And you can utilize it for the good things so that it doesn't take over in the bad things. I hope this helped you. I hope this shed a light on codependency. I hope this made you feel more loving and deserving of who you are and the things that you need, and maybe understand a little better. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
So after all of that, I have to say one thing, because we said it does matter where you put your care and love. And if we can't shut down our ability to feel other people's feelings as our own, we might as well funnel that towards the good people. And I'm going to tell you, speaking for Scott and myself, that's all of you. That's all of you listeners. We do care about you. We do care about what you think. We do care about what you want to hear about. This podcast is for you and is about you. I hope you feel the love that comes out of my voice right now as I get emotional talking about it. And yes, even though we decided not to celebrate our 100th episode and keep it to the 11th episode, I just had to say that.
Yeah. And we are like a mini celebration here for 100. We made it to 100. That's incredible.
Yeah.
But 111, we'll do a little bigger thing. But yeah, I mean, you guys have supported us. The reviews.
Oh my
we have
gosh.
over 4,000 something reviews. Just incredible.
Reviews,
all 5-star.
Yeah, reviews mean a lot to us. Thank you so much for taking the time to send in those 5-star reviews.
Yeah, they're heartfelt too. We read them all too.
We do.
And they're not like just, great podcasts, heart. They're like, some of them are like paragraphs and paragraphs.
It means so much to us. Like I have overwhelming gratitude for all of you. I mean, from the beginning, we started this from grassroots, from the ground up. I mean, you guys helped us out. You 1111 bombed us before we were with Wave Podcast Network, which we're also very grateful for. We funded this on our own, and you all helped. And that was like absolutely, I mean, how do I ever say thank you for that? Like, what can I do except just try to keep making episodes that resonate?
Yeah. And we appreciate that. The book's coming out on November 9th. Simon & Schuster just contacted us and told us how many pre-sales there were.
For the Angel Numbers book, it's coming out November 9th. You can order it on simonandschuster.com or wherever you like to buy books.
So we thank you for all those pre-sales.
Thank you.
Yeah, incredible. We have our event in January, the Mystic Micheala Spiritual Family. It's
going to be wild. A jovial cult.
Jovial cult is coming to Fort Lauderdale.
The jovial cult will be...
Yes.
We'll be convening. We'll be freaking out everyone in the hotel when they're like... Because like last time, 2 years ago when we had it, we just had like 60 people or something. How many? 60
about
to 100?
About 100
people.
Yeah.
The hotel staff was like whispering, like, are they a cult?
Yeah. I was asked a few times. I've said this before.
Yeah, we've talked about this. And now there's going to be, how many, we had maybe double? Yeah, well,
we had, we have an event in the morning on that Saturday morning. There's only space for 200 people. So we did sell I have a couple tickets left if someone wants, but basically nothing left there.
Yeah.
We apologize. But you can still come.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a whole weekend
thing.
Well,
the Friday.
No tickets for the rest of it.
No tickets. Just show up. Because Friday night we're doing like a happy hour at the hotel.
Yeah, Friday we're doing happy hour at the hotel. I think Jamie and Ashley are going to do a little yoga on the beach before the event. So that's free. Then we do have the event, which is ticketed. And again, I only have like a couple left. And then at night we're going over across to the beach, to a beach bar.
Yeah.
Wherever, beach bar restaurant where everyone can hang out.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll sign a few books.
Yeah, and obviously that's free too. It's just hanging out, meeting each other. We'll have name tags.
Yeah.
And trust me, everyone's friends. And I think we're going to get some volunteers to be like MMSF ambassadors. So if you come alone, trust me, you will be alone. Not very long, because everyone makes we were talking about how hard it is to make friends. Well, not in this crew. Yeah. Like, it's really easy. So if you come alone, don't. But all this information is going to be laid out very detailed on the Facebook page.
Yes. All right. Well,
thank you all.
Again, we thank you so much.
We love you so much. And yes, this podcast is for you and about you. And I hope you feel Scott and my love today. Take care, guys.
If you want to be the most interesting person at the cocktail party, well, hop on over and listen to the Brain Candy podcast.
Our award-winning content will have you laughing while you're learning.
We read all the best articles, books, and studies, and keep up with new TV shows, documentaries, and pop culture. And then we cram it all into 2 shows a week.
Conspiracy theories, cannibal rabbits, unsolved mysteries, the history of the Walkman. There's something for everyone.
The Brain Candy podcast. Find our link in the show notes.
Or simply search for the Brain Candy podcast on your podcast app.